أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم بسم الله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه. Dear viewers, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome back to our live streams. iSyllabus Live, alhamdulillah, it's our first live that we've now, inshallah, will be doing tonight, 30th of April 2025. It's the first one that and first opportunity we're having after the month of Ramadan. And inshallah, tonight, as always, a deep discussion, inshallah, of some of the live issues that we've got in our community, and we're bringing them to the forefront, inshallah, with Sheikh Amr Jamil. Sheikh Amr Jamil, for any of you will be aware, co-founder of iSyllabus. So, inshallah, we will be discussing today's topic, which is riding daily difficulties with strength. And one of the key issues that are really at the forefront of Sheikh Amr's mind at the moment is exactly that, facing life's difficulties, facing challenges, and ultimately what it is that the community is experiencing. So we're going to go to Sheikh Amr without any further ado. So Sheikh Amr, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah. Umar, how are you?
Alhamdulillah, well and well. Very well, Sheikh. How are you?
Alhamdulillah.
Sheikh, we could really have been joined here today talking about a whole host of issues, as we obviously have done over many iSyllabus lives now. And today's discussion is riding daily difficulties. Please give us an insight into why this is so important or at the forefront of your mind at the moment.
So I think this topic is extremely important because, of all the things that we want to achieve in life, we want to learn our religion, we want to get closer to God, want to, have good relationships, etc., do some good community work. So what I've found is, especially through my work through Unity. So Unity, if anyone doesn't know, is a charity where people book one-to-one slots with me. Anything to do with personal life, family life, we discuss and try and give them advice.
Yep.
And sometimes, I've seen this over the years. So over the years, I would be teaching a class, teaching them how to pray. Before we came on, I was teaching an iSyllabus class. We were going through the Witr prayer. We were going through how to pray when you're elderly, and actually talking about how to concentrate in the prayer. So, although there weren't many people on live, but I think that's because of the weather today. So you have to give them a bit of slack there. So, the thing is, so I've been doing that for many years, and, people go through courses and they know quite a lot in terms of Islamic studies.
Mm-hmm.
But then the same people would, even though they've been studying for years, they would then come to me through Unity with their own personal problems.
Mm-hmm.
So I realized, okay, yes, one of the things that I do is I teach courses, but in reality, that does obviously tick a certain box. But what really people struggle with, what they find really difficult, is those personal issues.
Mm.
And sometimes they just feel overwhelmed. Sometimes they just feel confused. They just feel, in fact, I had a voice note today, again, from a student who studied for many years with me, going through some personal issues. And actually just said, look, I've not forgotten about your email, but I've sat down a number of times to write it, then I've deleted it, then I've wrote it, then I've deleted it. And he said, my head's all over the place and I'm trying to gather my thoughts. So he's saying, look, I've not ignored you, but I'm just trying to gather myself and be coherent when I'm, writing to you. So again, so I'm looking at, well, okay, we've been teaching for so many years, but the thing that people really struggle with is not the fiqh test, is not the Aqidah test. They can do that. But it's the day-to-day stuff, the personal stuff, where they find it extremely difficult. So I'm doing a course this Sunday in Glasgow, and then next weekend it's in Oldham, and then Manchester, and then the weekend after in Birmingham, Nottingham, on this particular topic, because I think that people need a framework. They need a way of looking at their issues, which actually enables them to get to a solution. I think often they just feel that they're stuck, they're at the end of a road. And one of the things I did was I as people sign up, they get asked, like, what are your main challenges? And I was just reading through them actually today, and one of them was that I don't know who to speak to. I don't know who to turn to. I've got all these issues. I don't know where to go. Where do I get help? And almost felt as if they're kind of on their own.
Yeah.
And they feel kind of lonely in their issues, and then obviously that exacerbates it even more. So I think that's why I just felt that this is a reoccurring issue, and it happens over and over and over again. And it doesn't necessarily matter what the issue is. It's how you need to look at life. Like, you need to look at life through the proper lenses. And if you're not doing that, you're always going to see a problem. So I think what I'm trying to do is give people a way of thinking almost. A different way to look at the issue. So often when I get a couple and they're like, I don't know what to do, and so I'll actually ask a lot of questions. I'll say, well, what about this and what about that, and have you tried this and you tried this? And what happens is it's just getting them to see it from a different angle that they've never thought of, or they've never looked at it like that, and they'll say, oh, I've never thought about it like that.
Yeah.
I never looked at it like that. And actually, if I look at it like that, I actually can see some light at the end of the tunnel. I actually can see how you could actually turn this around. And, our religion is a religion of hope. We're not defeatist by nature, and we shouldn't be defeatist in mindset. And often, a lot of the times, we are like that. So it's about training our minds. It's about training us. How do we look at issues? I remember when the Gaza thing happened, people were rightly very kind of depressed because, no matter what they were doing, protests, writing letters, no matter what they did, nothing was working, right? And one of my teachers, who's actually a Syrian scholar, he's in Turkey, and he's been through a lot of hardship, because he's told me the hardships he went through when he was in Syria, and now he's obviously in Turkey. He's looking after his community near the border. And I remember he just sent a message out, and he must have sent that message out because of how he saw people were feeling. And it was in Arabic, and he just basically said, the Muslim is never defeated. The Muslim doesn't know despair. The Muslim doesn't, the Muslim can handle it. You can handle it. And it was just a message of hope that he said, look, we don't, doesn't matter what you throw at us, we're still standing, and we will always stand. And it reminds me actually of something a scholar called Dr. Omar Farouk said. So he's a American scholar, he's a convert. He became Muslim in the early 70s. Incidentally, through Malcolm X, reading the autobiography of Malcolm X, that's what made him become Muslim. And I remember he said something really interesting. He said that if you look historically, if you look at the history of our Ummah from the time of the Prophet ﷺ, as you know, very quickly it spread. And there was kind of, you could say, a golden era when the Muslims were on top. That's where all the, we talk about algebra and all these things that Muslim, Ummah gave to the world, technological advancements, all the rest of it, right? So he then talks about, obviously it goes up, and then there's a bit of a decline, which then culminates in the last kind of 200 years when a lot of the Muslim countries became colonized and carved up, you could say, through the European powers. And he basically said that he actually dated the kind of the downfall, the real kind of slump from the time of Tipu Sultan. So he says from 1799, when Tipu Sultan falls, that's it. Everything just goes downhill from that point. So he was basically talking about 19th century, 20th century. So he said the last 200 years have been very traumatic. If you look at from the beginning to now, this has been the worst period, right? So it's been a very traumatic period, and then we came out of colonization. A lot of poverty because a lot of things were stolen from the Muslim world. But he said something really interesting. He said, despite the efforts that were put in, especially in the last century, to eliminate or to reduce the connection of Muslims to their faith, right? So if you look at Turkey, for example, Turkey, there was a big effort when 1924, when Kemal Atatürk comes in, there's a period where they banned the adhan to be in Arabic. You know, a lot of pressure. And before Erdogan came, as you know, hijab was forbidden in universities. It's a Muslim country, even Tunisia before the Arab Spring, right? So, you know, a Muslim country, you can't wear hijab. That is so he was saying, look, if you look at the last 200 years and the context, what the Muslims have been through, right? All the trauma. But he goes, look at today, we still have people that pray. We still have people that fast Ramadan. People still read Quran. People still wear hijab, right? He goes, the resilience of this ummah is incredible. That no matter what they've thrown, right, at the faith, and you know, we can talk about Islamophobia, we can talk about so many things, right? We feel demonized and so on, so on, so on, right? I mean, the Gaza conflict is just the latest, right? But if you look at everything that gets thrown in our way, like for example, the demonization that happened after 9/11, we all know lots of people became interested in Islam because of it and actually became Muslim. We know the Gaza conflict, one of the positives that's come out of it, you know, if you can say that, is that people have opened their eyes to what's happening and they actually became Muslim. They've been inspired by the faith of the Palestinians. So, you know, our faith is a faith of hope. And sometimes what I feel is that we are becoming too doomy and gloomy. And it's always negative. It's always kind of like, you know, this is hard, that's hard, this problem, that problem. I mean, I've talked to you about this before, that, you know, we've always got to be balanced. That on one hand, yes, we have a number of issues in the community, like any other community. It's not like it's just Muslims. But if you look at what the Muslims have been through and what they've actually still got and achieved, it's amazing. It's actually incredible, you know. And you know, non-Muslims look to the Muslim community. I was talking to a retired lawyer, and this guy's in his 70s, right? And it was something in particular I wanted to. I don't want to mention it here, but there was a particular issue in our community that I wanted to see how other communities are dealing with that same issue, just to see, look, you know, what can we learn from others? Because his dad, I think, was a priest, and he's quite involved in his community. And as we were talking, right, he was kind of agreeing that, look, we're also seeing the same problem. We're also thinking what to do. People are afraid to say anything, to rock the boat. And I didn't say anything to him, but he just said, you know, he goes, we respect the Muslim community a lot. And I was like, oh, do you? I was like, why? You know, it's not because of the rubbish in Albert Drive, right? So what is it? And he said it's because he goes, one of the things we really admire is the way you look after your elders. Now, I don't know if it's because he's obviously getting older, but the respect he sees that Muslims have for their elders, the way they look after one another, right? He was inspired. He was inspired through that, and that's without me even saying anything. He's just saying that to me. And then actually last week we had a conference. It was on spiritual abuse. Now, this is a contentious issue because, you know, we're still debating about that definition of that term and whether we should use it or not. But anyway, we had a conference last week in Scotland, and I was part of it. And we were having like you have like a discussion bit at the end, and I was in one of the groups. So everyone was Muslim. We kind of went round to get everyone's thoughts and what everyone's thinking. And there was one guy. The guy at the end was I can't remember which charity, but it's something to do with suicide. They help something to do with it. And he goes, "I'm not Muslim." He goes, "I'm not Muslim, right?" And he goes, "I was surprised that one of the things that stops people, or one of the things that's stopping the community dealing with this, is Islamophobia, because they think if we start talking about this, we're already demonizing all this." And he goes, "And that's a lesson for me." But then he said something interesting. But he said, one of the things I'm really impressed with is the empathy that was in the room. He goes, that you're all there to, you know, put your heads together and say, right, we've got an issue, we want to address this. How are we going to help people? You know, so I think we also have to cut ourselves a bit of slack at times as well, right? I was in the gym. This is interesting, right? I was in the gym, and now I'm just working out, and I overheard a conversation between two people, right, who are non-Muslims, just two non-Muslims, right? And they were talking about, I think it's is it the COVID vaccine or something like the Central Mosque, the main hall they're using it for? Do you know what
That's right. They're using it for the distribution of COVID vaccination. So they're using it as a vaccination centre.
Yeah, they're using it as a vaccination centre, right? So again, look, the mosque has just, you know, allowed people to come in there, and they're probably getting paid by the council as well for it. But anyway, so this is like completely random. I'm just, you know, I'm not minding my own business. I'm eavesdropping, right? Because I heard Central Mosque. I was like, oh, Central Mosque, I need to hear this. These two non-Muslims, right? And they're talking about the COVID vaccine, and they're saying, oh, you know, look at the mosque. They opened their doors up. You know, it's amazing. I went in, first time I've seen it, and really positive. You know, and this is it. We just need to show prophetic character. We just need to be Muslims in society. And people are watching us. People are always watching. How are these guys behaving, right? Who are these guys? It's almost like, what's that word? I've forgotten the word, right? But there's a brother that actually spoke to me from after a long time, works in the civil service, but he was saying that, you know, there's something it's not exotic. I can't think of the word, right? But there's something about Islam, right? He was talking about the conversations he has at work. He goes, people are just generally interested. There's a general interest in the religion. He goes, talking about all these different conversations. So anyway, my point is that, you know, we are a people of hope. And it's not just about, you know, in that course, I'm not just going to try and inshallah give people the proper way of looking, how we should look as a believer, how we look at things, right? But if we change our way of thinking and our way of doing it, then we can help other people as well, like people who are even not Muslim, the people we work with, the people, you know, showing them a different way of looking at things, showing them a different perspective. So then this is the idea. The idea is that we need to help one another, to, you know, help each other with our problems. This is the whole spirit of Islam, isn't it? The whole part, your ummah, brotherhood, you know, the Prophet. If you look at the example, you know, the slaves in there, there's noble people in there. They're all mixing, they're all helping each other, they're all lifting one another. Is that spirit? But to do that, you have to first of all get your own thinking correct, and then once your own thinking's correct, and other people are being, you know, doomy and gloomy, and not helping, you know yourself, you're in sometimes you're in a conversation and one person comes in and just brings everything down.
Absolutely.
Isn't it? Just one person comes in and just brings the whole mood of that environment down. So we have to be of people that lift other people. We lift ourselves and we lift other people. So this is what it's about. It's very different from the kind of course I've done before, which are kind of more delivery and information. This is more to like get people thinking and get people actually re-looking at things and looking at things differently, inshallah.
Alhamdulillah. Well, that's a great 20-minute introduction there from Sheikh Ahmed Jamil. And I tell you, I had 1,000 points running through my mind as he was discussing it. So much there to unpack, so many points there to fill. I'm almost tempted to, and I'm asking myself why I'm not signed up for the course myself. I'm hoping that my weekend is available so that I can. I'm being told there's only 6 spaces left for Glasgow. So
20 pieces.
20. Only 20 spaces left for Glasgow. So for all the viewers who are Glasgow based, then please do definitely get yourself onto the website and get your slot filled, and go onto the website just to see the dates for the other cities and when Sheikh Amr is going to be attending your city, inshallah. You know, subhanAllah, Sheikh, you touched on so many things there that I don't even know where to start, but there's a couple of things we want to mention. But what I found really interesting about what you said is just even going back to some of the basics. You know, I was thinking that we're never really taught these things. That's a big part of the issue. Obviously, with my background being I'm doing work with prisoners, the funny thing is that I see that they're almost handing a handbook to a prisoner in terms of how he's going to survive and navigate what we see just daily challenges. And really interestingly, just 2 days ago, we were talking about, and one of the things that kept coming back up for a particular prisoner was they kept asking him, so what are you going to do if you feel just stressed? You know, you're in the community, you've not been in community for 20 years. If you're just, because you're going to be in this house, you're going to be alone, right? You're going to be looking at walls. If you start to feel panicked, if you start to feel stressed, what is it that you do? And he said, well, I've been told that I need to just contact my supervising officer, and they get allocated a supervising officer. And he said, so I'll just be messaging them. I'll need to make sure that I learn how to use the phone, and I'll need to message the supervising officer. And they said, right, so what if it's at 12 o'clock at night? He said, well, I've been told there's some self-talking techniques, but mainly I can drop them a message and, I should get a reply. But, subhanAllah, again, something as simple as just reaching out to someone, we've not been taught some of the basics, and no doubt, inshallah, you're going to be going through even things that we call basic, but nobody's ever really sat and told you, this is how you respond in this scenario. I had a conversation with someone at the start of the week, and I genuinely think he listed to me about 7 problems that are going on in his life, 7 separate issues, and they can all be really categorized as major issues. And he just said, I don't even know where to begin to tell you where things are going wrong. Like, I don't even know where to start. There's that many things that I feel like that are going wrong that I don't even know where to start. And many of the people that will be listening to us, Sheikh, might be in that exact same category, that they think, I don't even know where to begin. If I was to start telling you what kind of challenges I'm facing, I don't even know where to start with my list of challenges. So, number one, I would imagine this is the type of thing that the course is going to address. Where do you begin? Where do you start? What is the starting point for someone that feels like they're just drowning in life and don't know where to go?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you touched upon a really important point with that example, is that you see in that situation, well, obviously the person needs, some help, some support is fine, right? But what you don't want to create is a dependency, so that the person's like always dependent on someone else, because there's going to be times like that person's trying to say to him, well, what if you can't get through to somebody? And it reminds me once, many years ago, had a couple, and the guy's like educated, as is accountant, he's successful, and it's hours and hours with this couple. And I gave him this scenario where his wife wasn't agreeing with him, and he's trying to convince her. And I said, okay, what if this happens, then what would you do? And he goes, I'd do this. I said, if that happens, then what would you do? And he goes, I'd do this. We kept going like this, and I said, until they got to a blank. I said, but if that happens, then what will you do? So he sat back and he goes, I'll call you. I said, listen, you can't call me. Right? You can't call me. Right? The whole point is you need to be able to resolve your own issues. Right? So we need to skill up people so that they can deal with their own stuff. Otherwise, what happens is they will always be dependent on other people. So it's almost like we're keeping people in a weakened state. But what we need to do is we need to strengthen people. We need to give them the skills that they can deal with their own stuff themselves, right? And I think that is at the core of what I'm trying to do here. I'm trying to skill up people so that they can actually deal with their stuff themselves. Obviously, depending on how difficult the situation is, you will need some help here and there, but you should be able, it's about empowering the person to say, listen, you can do this, you can handle it, right? You just need a few pointers. So that's basically the kind of ethos, you could say, of what we're trying to do with that course.
Sheikh, I know we've only got 5 minutes before we're going to break for Maghrib, inshallah, but I wondered, just before we break for Maghrib at 9 o'clock, to all our viewers, please, we will be back on, inshallah, just after 5 minutes, but we'll take a break at 9 o'clock just so that everyone can read Maghrib. But before we go, Sheikh, for our namaz break, what were the types of things that people were mentioning? Obviously, you mentioned at the start that you were putting out feelers to really ask the community what kind of things, when people are signing up to the courses, What types of issues is it that they're experiencing? What type of things is it that they think that they need help with? What was the type of feedback that we got?
Yeah, so I mean, I was looking at that today. So the obvious marriage issues and divorce that came up absolutely. There was this thing of navigating family relationships and also self-destructive behavior. Then there was the issue of struggling with what's happening in the world to Muslims everywhere. So I take it as in relation to Gaza and not just related to Gaza. There's also addiction to forbidden things. Regretting past mistakes and trying to move forward. Some people mentioned praying consistently, finding that difficult. Some talked about finding a spouse, just a life partner, and then just the whole issue of dealing with family and siblings. A few people mentioned things like feeling overwhelmed with what's happening, like the guy you're talking about, that 7-8 things have gone wrong in life. And interestingly, it was an interesting statement that they're scared of losing themselves in the process. Another person said they feel they're suffering from low iman, low faith, and they're praying, they're doing dhikr, but they don't feel like they're doing anything. They're struggling. One person put revert and family. So I'm assuming challenges with their own family of becoming Muslim. Someone mentioned health struggles. People obviously go through health issues. This was an interesting one. It was a bit embarrassment at not knowing very much as a Muslim, feeling that they don't know enough, and they're not doing enough. And then there was one person that mentioned about struggling with a very difficult work environment. And then last was about kind of bereavement kind of issues. So, a wide array of things. And it's basically whatever they're going through at that current stage in their life. So if people are like not married, then that's a big thing for them. Those who have got married and maybe got children, and the children have gone astray, then that's, an issue. So I think depending on which stage people are in life, they've got their issues are different.
Yeah, of course. And no doubt for everyone that's been listening, then I'm sure most of us will be able to relate to at least one thing on that list, if not more than one. To all our viewers, we're with Sheikh Amr Jamil. You're live with iSyllabus YouTube Live. Today's discussion really is about navigating daily struggles. And Sheikh Amr will be convening his tour, coming to 5 cities, Glasgow, Birmingham, Oldham, Bradford, and Manchester. The dates should be at the bottom of the screen, as you can see. So please do visit www.isyllabus.org for more details. Get yourself signed up. I'm told there's only 20 to 25 spaces left for Glasgow alone, and other cities are filling up. So please do get yourself down, get yourself enrolled. At the very least, even if you're currently not experiencing these issues, what a brilliant opportunity, because ultimately none of us are going to go through life and not experience issues and not go through difficulties and not go through our challenges. And I think one of the really useful things for this course is that having those skill sets, having those tools in your locker to be able to not only deal with these things yourself, but then inshallah in the future to be able to advise others is extreme. It's priceless. So I would encourage everybody to please really seriously go onto the website to have a look. Sheikh, we're on 9 o'clock, so we're going to take a 5-minute break, inshallah, for Maghrib, and inshallah we'll be shortly back straight after this break. Thank you. Okay, dear viewers, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Welcome back. You are tuned in to iSyllabus YouTube Live, and with us, Sheikh Ahmed Jamil, and today's discussion is on daily struggles. And we have had a very interesting discussion upon Sheikh Ahmed's thinking behind really delivering the course that we are doing now. For many of you that might be aware of Sheikh Ahmed will be aware that he's a co-founder of iSyllabus, and much of the teaching that they've done to date has been on, of course, Islamic studies. This is a very different type of course. And of course, really is not going to be about studying fiqh, and it's not really about studying the principles of Islamic law, but ultimately really is coming down to giving us an opportunity of developing ourselves as people, giving us the tools that we need in order to get through some of the challenges that we see in our lifetimes. Interestingly, whether that's with relationships, workplaces, different anxieties, we've mentioned lots of different issues, a wide array of issues that people have messaged in to say that they're struggling with, from their own relationships in their homes to just navigating challenges at work, anxieties about different issues, health issues, etc. So this is a course that's really interesting, actually, inshallah, and it may be, and something that we mentioned earlier was that it may very well be that just now you might feel like you're on top of things and you've got things in order, but this is not a course that I think is widely accessible. I don't think it's something that's taught at all. In fact, this is the first that I'm hearing of a course of its nature like this. And I think that I don't think there's anybody that's watching that would say that they've got every tool that they need in the box and they're happy with where they're at in life, just simply by default, because it's not something that we're taught at madrasa. It's not something we're taught at school. It's not something we're taught at a young age. So an opportunity to really try and develop ourselves, our own characteristics, our own surviving tools and guides, but also, inshallah, to be able to benefit others. Sheikh, we've mentioned lots of different discussions, different topics, different points. I was really interested by a discussion that I had with a brother a couple of weeks ago, which just came to my mind as we went off air there, which was that he said to me that I used to live in a family setup where it was quite a busy household, and my whole life I was around people, around others, had lots of people to turn to, had dinner with. I mean, even just a simple act of eating with others in the evening, to going to this local masjid, because he was very central to the city. He would go to the masjid every single night, so he would see people there. He said that he moved out and he moved to the outskirts, and he ended up in a scenario where he was essentially gone from a very busy household to very quiet, not really much going on at all, never going to the masjid because it was too far, would all of a sudden start eating dinner alone, all of these types of issues, but felt that in actual fact he just couldn't handle or didn't know how to be himself or be at ease with himself, because he's gone his whole life and never really had to just, he's always had people there, always had people around, from whether it was eating at home to being out and about. There was always hustle and bustle and folk there. And I suppose on one view, when we look at Dean, we're almost designed to just live in the kind of environment that we're now in, which can be a very lonely one. So subhanAllah, I thought I would just share that.
Yeah.
But, going back to much of the discussion point, inshallah, that we're trying to give our viewers today. What if you've tried everything, Sheikh? What if you're an individual who feels as though, well, actually, I'm not sure what I'm going to get here, because guess what? There's lots of things that I've tried with my marriage. There's lots of things that I've tried with my anxiety about this particular topic. There's lots of things that I've tried with X, Y, and Z. What type of thing, why is it important for that person to come along? What type of perspective might they get?
Yeah. The thing is that this sometimes happens with couples that I get through Unity. They'll say, look, I've tried everything. And just through the discussion with them and exploring them, and just me asking them questions, they actually realize, actually, I haven't tried everything, right? I think I've tried everything according to my knowledge, but then when you bring something else to them and make them think about something in a different way, they're like, well, actually, I've not tried that. And it's like, well, okay, why don't you try that then? For 6 months and see how you get on? Because the thing is, I often use this analogy with them: is look, if you had a business and you had a strategy and you're making a loss in your business, nobody sits down and says, right, well, we'll just keep doing the same thing and hopefully things will get better, right? People will stop and say, wait a minute, what's happening here, right? I mean, we need to do things differently. We need to figure out why we're losing money here. How can we improve this? And I say to them, look, your marriage is the same, right? If you just think someone else is going to come along and solve your problems, it's not going to happen, right? You can't just think, well, that's just the way it is. That's just the way I am, and that's it. I said, no, if you had a business and the business strategy was failing, you would change the strategy. So I said, you're here obviously with me because whatever you've been doing has not been working.
Yeah.
So if you're saying I've tried everything, well, you've tried the things that don't work, right? So it would be crazy to just keep doing that for the next 20 years because you already know for certain these things don't work because I've tried it. Now what you need to do is we need to try something different. We know what doesn't work. Okay, well, let's explore what may work, right? Like, why don't we try this? Why don't we try that? So basically, a lot of people fall into this that, well, I've tried everything. And as soon as you ask them a few questions, you're like, well, you haven't, because you haven't tried what I've just said to you. So it's something, like you said, it's just that they don't know. They do what they think or what they know, and they think, okay, that's it. I've done as much as I can. But no, there's actually a lot more. There's lots of techniques. There's lots of different ways of doing things. So we never do the same thing, expect different results. There's obviously a statement, isn't there?
Yeah,
A foolish person that does the same thing and expects different results. So I think it's about getting people, like I said, it's about getting them to think. It's about getting them to reframe things, relook at things, see things from a different perspective. And when you start seeing things from a different perspective, you're like, oh, okay, I could actually just try this, and it might be that their marriage doesn't last.
Yeah.
I had a call today where, the lady had checked out. She goes, I've checked out this marriage. But when I started saying, well, have you done this and have you done that? And she's like, well, okay, actually, I haven't done that. And I said, look, the divorce is always an option. If you want to get divorced, you can get divorced in a year's time. But at least go and try and do these things first. And then if you still feel that, look, I want to get out this marriage, at least you'll know I tried everything I could possibly. She's seeing a counsellor. I said, look, see the counsellor, do this. We gave her multiple things. Try all of those things. Then in a year's time, if things are still the same and you've tried as much as you can, at least you can walk away, with a lighter heart. That, okay, I know between me and myself that I've done what I could and it just wasn't working. So that's a much better state to be in. So it's not like, it doesn't mean that if you come, I'll resolve your issues, right? It's not about resolving issues. It's about giving people the ability to deal with their issues. It's about skilling them up, upskilling them so they can deal with their own stuff themselves, and be able to get through life and all the things that life throws at us.
Well, that's very important. You mentioned something earlier on before our break, Sheikh, which spoke about just outlook and how important outlook can be, and just having a slightly different perspective on things. And it's something that we've touched upon before, which is that we are living in a time where people are so quick to just see all doom and gloom. That everything that you get on WhatsApp. When's the last time you received something that was positive about them on WhatsApp? I can't remember the last time somebody sent me an article which was good, which made me feel good, which made me think, oh, that's really interesting. You have to really go out your way to find the good points or really try and look for it, because all we do is get inundated and flooded with negativity, whether it's world news, whether it's family news, whether it's news about a friend, news about, and that can really be damaging without people realizing. And subhanAllah, yet in actual fact, if you do open your eyes and look, then actually there's lots and lots and lots to see, which subhanAllah really opens your eyes to. We see one thing, but Allah's plan really can be another thing. One of the things that a sister said to me was that she had gone through really, really bad health difficulties. And she said, I feel bad because that was the closest that I ever felt to Allah and at that time. And I said, and why do you say that? She said, but the minute that I the minute that I came out of my treatment and the whole thing stopped, because I used to get up for tahajjud and I would pray. And she said, even when I went into to get my treatment in hospital, I would say things like, "Oh Allah, just take me by the hand." That's how close I felt with him. I would say to him, "Take me by the hand." I felt as though he was there with me. But after I went out, when I came out the other side, I feel guilty because I've just gone off. You know, sometimes, like you say, in hindsight, you know, they're almost the best moments of your life, in the sense that they could have been the moments that actually have got you to such a level with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But as you say, it's about just getting the tools to navigate that situation at that point.
Yeah, and I think that's a point, a good point you're making is the blessings within difficulties that we are not privy to. So we don't have the full picture, right? But like you said, for example, for her, through the difficulty, it actually brought her closer to God, because, you know, it made me to think about, you know, the temporality of her life, or made her think about, well, you know, the blessing that you have. I mean, it's like, you know, when you're ill, when you're in a really bad state, you appreciate what good health is.
Yeah, of course.
You know, I mean, when COVID happened, some people lost the ability to taste. Happened to my niece. You know, she goes, "I can't taste anything."
Happened to me twice.
And she's just like, "This is awful. I can't," because she's a foodie. So she's like, it doesn't matter what I'm eating, I can't taste anything.
Yeah.
So until that's taken away from you, you can't fully appreciate it. I was actually listening to, it was a clip, you know, somebody had sent a clip in one of the groups. One of the scholars, Syrian scholars, Sheikh Mujir, he's a hadith scholar, and it was basically an interview with him. And so I just started listening to it. I was doing something. I was working out, and I thought I'll just listen to it as I'm doing that. And he was just saying, talking about Syria, and he said that when he went, he for part of his studies, he went to Medina. He was in Medina. He was studying there. He goes, I never really felt the blessing or what Syria really is, because I was in Medina. You know, you're in obviously you're in a blessed place. But after the troubles, when he had to leave Syria and had to live in a different country, he goes at that point, he goes, I've now experienced what Syria means, what Sham means. Now I fully get it. I fully get that, how, you know, what an amazing place that is, and all the different, and he started rolling off all the different places in Damascus and so on, because I get the value of Damascus now when it's taken away from you, you know. And now when he's obviously coming back, looking at it, it's like, you know, wow. And he's like, you know, he's got a big white beard. He's, you know, an older man now. But it's only now that he's fully grasping the enormity, the magnitude of what Syria is, you know, when he had to leave. So it's the same thing. When temporarily God takes something away, your health, or, you know, a certain blessing from you, then you start to appreciate the blessing. But if you never did that, you just become complacent, you know, and you just get, like that lady is giving you a great example. She just forgot. It's human nature, you know. Things are going well, you know, you're okay, but as soon as, like, asking a university student, right, when it's exam time, they're all they're all praying, they're all doing dua, and actually asking you, which dua should I make? Which dua do I make? After the exams, it's like back to normal again, sleeping 12 hours.
It's funny you say that. One of my sister-in-laws, when she was studying medicine for the full sort of term, whenever she'd meet my dad, she would say, "Uncle, Merire dua karna. Please make sure you're making dua for me because my exams are coming up." My dad was joking with her just recently. He said, "It was only once you became a doctor you forgot all about me, because while you were studying, you needed my duas. You always used to call, and you used to come to me. You say, remember to make dua for me. And he said, you've not asked me for any duas since you became a GP. So, subhanAllah, it's funny, we can laugh about it, but it's just element of truth with all of us, I suppose. For anyone watching, for our viewers, alhamdulillah, we have the ability of talking today about upcoming courses which Sheikh Amr, inshallah, will be delivering, which relate to daily struggles, dealing with daily life struggles. And as you can see at the bottom of the screen there, he plans to be in Glasgow, Oldham, Bradford, Birmingham and Nottingham, inshallah, on the following dates that are there. Please go onto the website, www.isyllabus.org, for more details, inshallah, where you can sign yourself up. There's really limited spaces now in Glasgow, not much left. So if you're in Glasgow, then please do get onto the website and get yourself booked on. And similarly with the other cities. Sheikh Amr, we're coming to a conclusion of this live session. But before I ask for your final comments, I will pick up on one final point, which is that there's a point here which states that people need to take self-responsibility for their lives and where they want to go. What's our thinking behind this?
So often we feel, we can sometimes feel helpless or feel our life is out of control, or we're at the peril of another person, my spouse or my child or my boss or a life event. We feel it's like crippling us. But one of the things that we have to, and this is actually what I was talking to the sister about today in particular, was, just because you're feeling a certain way, okay, just because you're feeling a certain way does not mean that is reality. Okay. And also you have the ability to change how you feel. So sometimes, and this is one of the issues we have in the West generally, is that we have given feelings more due than what they are. Okay. And obviously that culminates like what we see where somebody might feel that they're a different person altogether, or not even human, right? Because the feeling, isn't it? The feeling, it feels they feel it so deeply that they think it's reality. It's like if you have an anorexic person, they're thin, but they feel overweight.
Yeah.
Right. But so the feeling is become reality to them, but the reality is they're not actually overweight. Right. So sometimes what happens is we feel that there's no hope. We feel that I'm at the end of the tunnel. There's no light. We feel that we're overwhelmed because I just can't deal with it. So all of these things are feelings. And one of the things one of the techniques is to actually change how you feel, to actually say, well, hold on a second. It's almost like we don't want people to become a prisoner to their feelings. Right? It's almost like your feelings are holding you hostage. You want to be free so that you're like, no, feeling, I'm in control and I'll tell you what to do. You're not going to tell me what to do. Right? So it's about taking control back, taking your life back, taking control of your emotions, because for example, like with suicide, right? I mean, this is a reality. People, they feel that life is just so dark, so difficult that it's actually better to choose not to live, right? To end their life seems a better option than to go through the difficulty. And I was actually looking into this according to the World Health Organization. I was shocked. 720,000 people die a year through suicide worldwide. Right, so that's shy of 1 million people a year. But an interesting thing was suicide is the third leading cause of death for 15 to 29-year-olds. Right, so it's the third leading cause of death. So what is it that's making people feel so that this life is so difficult that I just want to end it? Right, that ending it is better than living. And then really interesting was what they found is, if you look at the tables, they found that the most troubled nations in the world have actually comparatively low suicide rates. So Afghanistan,
Oh.
Iraq, Syria, Palestine, all of these countries have a low suicide rate, right? Even though if you look at in terms of on paper, they have the hardest lives, right? And so then again, what is it? What is the, I don't want to say secret, but what is it about those people that they can go through extremely excruciating circumstances and not choose to kill themselves, right? To commit suicide. Whereas other people who are arguably, in paper, not as difficult in circumstances, what is it that makes them feel that this is no option? And the thing is, and this is why we shouldn't reduce people's struggles. So one of the things, we'll often hear is, oh, well, look at what's happening to them. You be quiet. Why are you complaining, right? Look at those people. They have nothing to eat. You have, they don't have a roof over the head. One of the things we shouldn't do is minimize people's struggles, right? People's struggles are real.
Yes.
Right? They're just different. Yeah, we're not starving to death. We don't have, but then what happens? Because what happens then? People feel that I can't even say anything, right? Because I should, then they feel guilty for feeling like that. Right? So we want to get away from that. We want to get them. Look, you're going to have difficulties, but this is how you need to get through them. This is how you look at things. And even in the UK, I was again looking at the suicide rates just because I'm looking at the course. So in 2023, there was just over 7,000 deaths in the UK registered as suicide. Now that's 17 a day. 19 a day. 19 suicides a day in the UK. Right. So obviously there is a big problem. And obviously it's quite complicated. People have mental health issues and stuff. There's lots of variation. I mean, I'm not, obviously it's a very big topic. I'm not an expert in this at all. But what the whole point, the point I'm just trying to make is that life can become so overwhelming for people. They actually, even if they don't maybe commit suicide, they have suicidal thoughts. I had somebody this week who said that to me, that they get suicidal thoughts.
Yeah.
Right. So people's struggles are real. These are real things. It really affects people's lives. It really gets people, really down, and they can lose, a lot of time, a lot of years of their life struggling to get themselves out. So this is in that spirit of helping one another, like, that hadith about Allah, Allah helps a person as long as they help their brother, taking care of your brother's needs. If you take care of your brother's needs, Allah will take care of your needs. All this brotherhood about helping one another through difficult times. So this is in that spirit of, okay, let's together, help each other. Let's help one another with our difficulties. My difficulties are going to be different from yours, from the other person that Lister led. There's a variety of issues, and inshallah we'll have a Q&A as well on the course where people can ask specific questions. But what I'm trying to do is give them a methodology, give them a framework, give them a structure of, look, this is how you got to start looking at your life now. You look at it through these lens, and by just looking at it in that way, having the right attitude, you can actually get through lots of difficult times. It doesn't mean you can get rid of the difficulty. It might not be able to get rid of the difficulty, but you can enable someone and empower them to get through their difficulty.
Alhamdulillah. I think, as I said earlier on, this is a very unique course from what I can see. Just in general, in terms of, there's lots of courses out there that people will be able to go to sign up if you want to learn about the seerah of the Prophet, if you wanted to learn Quran, if you wanted to learn Arabic. But I really have to stress that this is really one of its kind. And one of the things that allows Sheikh Amr to come to the table and deliver a program like this is really just years and years of being in this sphere, being in this space in the community, picking up people's struggles, what are the challenges, being on the ground with his background really allows him to deliver this type of program, which really is something that I would really ask and urge everybody to pick up on. You'll see from the bottom of the screen there, Glasgow, Oldham, Bradford, Birmingham and Nottingham are the cities in which they're going to be, Sheikh Amr will be carrying out his tour and delivering this seminar and these talks. But as I said earlier on, the spaces that are available in Glasgow really are running short. So definitely get onto the website, www.isyllabus.org, and inshallah get yourself signed up. And the first thing I'll be doing, inshallah, after this call is getting myself signed up, I think. But the point is that regardless of whether or not you feel that this is a course that you need just now or not, having the tools, having the skill set, I think no doubt is imperative that every single one of us should have, even if it's not just for the benefit ourselves, but benefiting or being able to benefit others, no doubt will be extremely, extremely beneficial, inshallah. Sheikh Amr, that's us on 9:30, and that's been a great insight, inshallah, to your upcoming classes that everyone will have the chance of being part of, inshallah. Is there anything else that you wish to add to what's been said today? Any last remarks? Please feel free to come in there.
No, I would just say, look, to people, look, the difficulties are part and parcel of life. We all have to get through them, but definitely you can learn skills of how to get through them with a lot more confidence and just feeling able to do it. And like I said, I'll reiterate, our religion is a religion of hope. The Prophet ﷺ was a very optimistic person, and our tradition is full of, if you look at all the difficulties the Prophet ﷺ goes through, he gets through them. He pushes through them. So what is it that we can learn from the Quran, from the Seerah, from these stories, from our tradition? What were these people doing? Because people in the past had traumatic lives as well. They had difficult lives as well. So how were they able to navigate through their issues that that we can learn from? So this is, inshallah, a learning process for us. And like I said, it's not your kind of delivery style. It's going to be more kind of getting people to really think and take concepts and look at afresh, inshallah. So inshallah, we're drawing from the tradition, and inshallah, it will be a good discussion. It's only 4 hours, so it's not like a full day, it's half day, because it's not about information overload. It's about rethinking, inshallah, so people come away with a new way of looking at life, inshallah.
Inshallah. And just to reiterate that there will be an opportunity of having a Q&A session. So even if there's something specific that you think that you'd want to ask Sheikh Amr about, inshallah, you'll have the opportunity of doing that on the day. Sheikh Amr, Jazakallah khair, as always, for your time and giving us the chance of having an insight into upcoming course. The only thing left to say for all the viewers is definitely please get onto the website and get yourself signed up. And even if you're not available, please do share, get it on your WhatsApp groups, get it in your social media, inshallah. No doubt that you'll be able to, inshallah, hopefully even help relieve somebody else's burden. Jazakallah khair as always, and we end as always with Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim wal asr. إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. Jazakallah khair. Thank you very much for joining. And inshallah, till the next time, we'll see you then. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.